you know, how lots of fintechs are not utilizing it, right? You see that email marketing is actually one of the most powerful revenue drivers, but people don't think it is. I mean, yeah, it's understandable because whoa, I had a lot of emails drop in my phone in the last, how many minutes, right? And of course, who would believe that with all of those emails, I would actually click on one and actually do something because of that email. But the truth is, email marketing is not a afterthought. It is not a post-launch thing or anything. Like in my experience as a life cycle manager and everything, yeah, I'll tell you that there are some things that you can do that will make email marketing very great for you. I have five, and I think that will help you, right? So if you're a fintech or anybody at all, you shouldn't use the same message for everyone. Now the truth is, most fintechs will blast the same content, get a loan, open an account, or refer a friend, or do this or do that to the entire list. But segmentation, shouldn't be optional. Yeah, it's actually a survival technique. Now, I'll give you an example. So, now, aside from the example, like before I go into the example, you'd see that there is the people complain about open rates and all that and all that. Now, for that open rates, I'll give you an example. Now, for an example, yeah, if I have 10,000 customers, right, and I send an email to them telling them to actually do something, but out of that 10,000, 500 of them opens that email. How many is that? That's not. How many percent is that? If that's pretty low, sha. Because I know 10% should be 1,000, so that's about 5%. Okay, let's see. Anyways, you see how low it is, right? 500 opens an email that you send to 10,000. But now let's say that we do proper segmentation and we look at things in the best way possible and we realize that 2,000 out of that 10,000 is pretty interested in what you are doing or in that particular product or that particular service or that particular thing, right? Fine, I take that 2,000 and I send an email to them, right? Of course, let's say out of that 2,000, just 500 of them are pretty interested, right? You see that the gap is no longer 500 to 10,000, it is now 500 to 2,000. So if I'm going to calculate that, that's going to be more than 10%, right? That's going to be more than 10% of the 2,000. 500 is more than 10%. 10% is 200, so that's about 25% open rate already. So sometimes with email marketing, it could be logical and yet strategic. Now, there are a lot of things that are logical, like I would expect, but hey, you have to calm down to now begin to see how logical it is, especially when you know the problems you're facing. Now, for somebody who understands that open rate is an issue, people already open and all that, you understand, okay, if I send an email to this number of people, not a lot of them will open, right? Another thing is going back to the blackboard to say, hey, what is my open rate like? What am I trying to drive? Now, if you're looking at your open rate and you're seeing that your open rate is pretty, not like the best and all that, and you want to test to see what the problem could be, now there's a possibility that you now say, okay, let me take only the people that are interested in this and do this and see what happens. Now, you'll realize that when you do this, your open rates would likely go up when you're sending to the people that really care about it. Yeah, because the truth is, if they don't care about it, if I don't care about it, why exactly should I be bothered with sending an email to the people that really care about it? Right? So if you don't care about it, why should you be bothered with sending an email to the people that really care about it? Now, of segmentation at a point, right, you'd realize that um, to begin with, it's still going to be painful, but over time it will get better. Why? Because if people are already used to you doing something this way and you change, right? When you change, it takes a while for them to accept that things have changed. And then, but when you're consistent with that change, they begin to see it and they begin to realize that, oh, okay, okay, I think this is good. Yeah. So that that is one part of it. The next thing is onboarding email sequence. Now the truth is, a lot of people don't do this, especially Nigerian brands and a lot of fintech brands. They don't do these onboarding emails where they nurture you through, right? And then you know it is different when I download something and I just want to move on ahead. But the truth is, if I as a brand I am very very particular about how long you stay or how long it takes you to make your first purchase when you come on board, then there is a possibility that it will increase the number of people that would, take up a product within the first few days. You could say 7 days, you could say 2 weeks, right? But you have a frame, right? For your onboarding email sequence, you want to have a time frame. And something that would help you would be that you um, look at where they're coming from. So if I run an ad on social media and the ad is about let's say saving, or the ad is about um, buying that house, right, and somebody clicks on that product because of that ad or because of that kind of content, right, you know the products that the person has clicked on to buy, and you know the ad. So there are two things to look at. Excuse me. There are two things to look at: the type of ad that the person clicked on. What was the ad referring to? Those things are things that would now drive how you want to keep communicating with the person, because it looks like this is the driving force and this is the motivation to the person. It's just like saying, if I want to save and people are telling me to save and I'm not interested, but all of a sudden somebody tells me about a car, breaks it down for me and tells me, hey, this. If you come on board and say you want to buy this car and you save 300k every month for 1 year, the price is locked down. It's not going to change, right? And you save 300k every month. I'm just using it because I said a car, right? And save 300k every month, you would be able to buy this car at this price for this period, right? It would be weird for me to come on board and the onboarding email that I'm getting is not related to that, right? While of course it's not going to be only that kind of email you will get, and of course I would know that, right? But it will be more interesting and persuasive for me if what I'm saying is related to that kind of advert, right, or that kind of email, right? The kind of email I'm receiving is in line with what brought me in. So you want to look at the kind of ad that brought them in. You also want to look at um, how the or the product rather, yeah. You want to look at the kind of ad and then also look at the product, right? The product, was it saving? Was it gold? Was it food? Was it what exactly? Was it vacation and all of that? Whatever kind of product it was, you want to use that to drive the onboarding sequence, so that therefore they can finish or complete that thing they had in their mind, right? And the truth is, this is very important, and I give it to most e-commerce brands, right? They do this a lot. They do this a lot because you want your first 3 to 7 emails to be to make it to resonate with that customer. You want it to be like, oh, when they go back to that email, like, why should they read that email? Why should they care? Do you understand? Some of them wants to even know what they need to do next, right? Do you understand? So the truth is, when you relate to them the way they came in, you remind them of what is in it for them. You remind them of why they came in the first place, which is why knowing the ad or knowing the content that brought them in, as well as the product that brought them in, is pretty important if you really want to convert people within the first few days that they come on board. So the truth is, for this kind, of course, I don't expect you to do it manually. It's important that it is automated, which is why understanding what brought them in, and what product brought them in, or what kind of content brought them in. You can use that to create journeys that, I mean, yes, it's a lot of work at the beginning, but imagine if you can hit that, if you can do that for a few things and just see what happens and see how good it becomes. Because trust me, it will be good and you would love it. You would really, really love it. So let's move on to the next, right? I can't remember what the next thing is, so I'll just try to get that out here. Okay, okay, so there is the next thing, which is, I think this one we all know it. I was going to skip this, so I think that's why I wasn't sure what was next. But okay, salesy copy, right? The thing is, salesy copies, people, we all get emails, we all get the emails, come on, unlock your potential and all that and all that. We all get these emails, and it can really, really be tiring. And I think that we have to move from that aspect to the aspect of being a lot more human, speaking like people, and not and not robots, because we've begun to speak a lot like robots these days, and it doesn't speak well. It happens a lot with fintechs, with banks, and many other companies in the country, right? Where you get an email and it's maybe, I mean, sometimes it's just image. Like a lot of brands these days, they just do only image, especially when you're trying to let somebody know how important a product is, or why they should really care about a product. I think um, I think sometimes you need to explain why they should care, right? So if I think I was saying one time in one of my other interviews, yeah, one of my interviews, I'd talked about electricity, right? Paying bills, pay your electricity bill, and I said, imagine if I was a brand and I did the research on the people that have stopped paying their bills. Okay, these people were paying, and all of a sudden they stopped paying. What happens? If I do my research, if I dig deep, and I realize that, oh, there's a few of these people that were within this region have reduced how they pay or haven't paid in a long time. And I do a deeper dive. And I found out that, oh, let's say the lights suddenly went bad within that area, right? I can say, oh, possibly a lot of them could have that issue, right? Especially because they're within that area. The period where they stopped making payments was around that period, and a lot more other factors that you want to look at. Now, I look at this and I say, oh, okay, okay, and then the way I communicate with them should be different. Now, I'm not going to be telling, and the truth is, at that point, I realized that it is useless telling them to pay their bills. True of us, it is useless telling them to pay their bills, because what am I telling them to pay their bills if they don't have lights? Of course they wouldn't. So imagine I'm sending emails to those people. It's a waste of my email, and that's money. Like every email that leaves the panel is should be accounted for, right? Because every email is money. Every email is worth something. Every email costs something, right? I know goodness. Sorry about that, guys. I'm so sorry about that. I will quickly rush up to continue where I stopped. So, yes, something else that matters is um, data, right? The truth is, with data, you can be able to segment your customers based on what they really are interested in, right? Now, imagine somebody who constantly buys a lot of, or not even buy itself, who is constantly scrolling through a lot specific things, yeah, within specific periods. Now, imagine I check the app and I see that these customers, or I see some sort of customers, or some number of customers that are constantly, um, what's it called now? Constantly surfing my um, discount session, and probably is within or searching for, cakes or presents or stuff like that. Now, the good thing about this is you take that data and you use it to interact with them. Are you looking for something? Are you planning for a gift? Do you want to give someone something? Oh, I mean, if you have other data like weddings and birthdays, you can use that to also say, hey, um, your child's birthday is coming around this period. While it can be a little dicey, there's a way to always, specifically reach out to people based on the information that you have, based on where they live, right? So imagine a concert is about to happen within a particular place, and then your app tracks location once it is open, right? So with that, you can use that to send location-based communication, right? From push notifications to emails and all that. The other things too, like forgotten carts, right? Like forgotten carts, right? There are a lot of e-commerce brands that do this, but fintechs, nope, we don't do this. Why? Right? We find it very easy to ignore the customers, right? While this also falls into the automation part and the segmentation part, it also falls into the data part, right? If you ignore data, you find it very difficult to, um, be specific or segment your customers. So without data, you really cannot segment your customers. Now, so remember we talked about the copy being robotic. Now, one of the ways that you can use to tune or tone that down a bit is to turn up emotional anchors. Now, I'm not saying that you should be pushy or manipulative, right? Right. But with data, you can make people take decision based on emotion, based on what they feel. So, if someone's birthday is coming up, you want to get them to see how important or how maybe this particular gift will be very relevant to the person they are going to gift based on who that person is, right? And that's just really what it is. There are a lot of other things, but one of the major things out of all of the five things that I've mentioned is segmentation. Segmentation is key. Excuse me. Segmentation is key, and data is what you would use to get segmentation right. So, whatever thing you do, there are two things you take away from this meeting: segmentation and data. With data, you can segment properly. With data, you can find out who is interested in what, and you can use that to channel that particular product or services or whatever to that customer, to that person. Now, the truth is, one time someone asked me, I said, hey, what if I don't have that data? And I'll tell you something, right? Of course, sometimes you want to send um, communications to customers, right? More like newsletters. So there are things that you call app alerts, right? If there's a new feature on the app, a new product on the app, yeah, you could send it as a newsletter or as an informational piece that says, hey, latest info, right? It should just be short, right? And it just says, so this is what's next. Now, something you can do if you don't have data at the moment and you want to start segmenting in a bit, one thing you can do is you can today has been amazing, and I'm sorry that it kept, going off and all that. And I think that's why I'm going to complete it because of the. However, today we talked about 5 email marketing mistakes that Nigerian fintechs keep making a year, and of course, my name is Faith Walbani. The only the one and only. Oh well, yeah. Go have a great day, guys. And fintechs, please pick one or two things for me. And if you don't pick anything, if you do not pick anything at all, pick just one thing. Please pick segmentation because if you pick segmentation, then of course you trickle down to data and all of that. But if you pick data, you could use data for something else that is not segmentation. So please pick one thing today, pick segmentation, and use it to the very best because you will love it. I'm telling you, in a lot of Lagos voice, you'll love it. See ya, guys.